We have a very special evening tonight because we have two main speakers, as it were. So we have to kind of cut short on some of the things we usually do. But I want to welcome you, and some of you who haven't been here before, I'd like to tell you that the Smart Life Forum is pleased to welcome you. You must be a person who takes some responsibility for your own health, doesn't completely rely on your doctor, although, of course, your doctor should be a principal resource for you. But we are a group of people who believe in being self-reliant in the pursuit of optimal wellness and longevity. So, and we are kind of a community. We are a community. People get to know each other rather more slowly, perhaps, than we should. But we do, when we get to the meeting at least, all contribute our own questions and our own information, and a kind of a collective mind project in trying to figure out how to solve the common and not so common problems that people have with their health. So welcome to you all. We're going to cut the meeting usually begins with a forum section, which is very important, where people are actually able to raise questions, either theoretical or practical in terms of problems they actually have. And then we all jump in as we can and try to help that person. So it's kind of a caring community where everybody shares for free. And there's a lot of professionals here who could and do charge for their services, but when they get here, it's all free. So, and everybody, even the people who aren't professionals or experts, contribute because they have experience in many cases. So it's a great community, and it's existed since 1992. And I'm proud to tell you I was one of the founding members. And so I've seen it, and I love this organization. We're going to, let me make a couple of announcements first before I forget to do it. There's a very outstanding program that's going to be on Sunday the 25th. But since we won't be meeting before that time again, I thought we want to mention to you now. It's a fellow by the name of Gabriel Cousins, who's an MD, and he has a very unusual take on being healthy, what it is to be healthy. And for him, health is a condition of spiritual enlightenment and the kind of living that we want to have as spiritual beings, because we are spiritual beings. And what I mean by that is we are conscious. It's the miracle of consciousness. And what kind of consciousness do you want to be? And so, and what he argues, and what he, I won't say argues, it's too antagonistic, but what he proposes is that diet and nutrition is a necessary condition of the good life and the blessed spirit. And so, and this meeting is going to be at the Center for the Spiritual Living in San Jose. And this is a marvelous group. You should know about it anyway. Been there many times. I've sung there many times. Steve is active there. And it's in San Jose. You get off of 280. You might want to make a note of this. I'm going to give you directions anyway. Just give you an idea. 280 to Bird. Then you get off Bird and go south to Willow. Then you turn left on Willow, go down to Clark Street. Well, I guess, and I'll give you I don't have the address, actually. Otherwise, you could, do MapQuest. But anyway, that's the first thing. The second thing is our speaker for June, Avi Hershkowitz, and he's going to talk about restoring health, converging modern medicine with tools from other traditions and practices. So those two things I'd like to have you keep in mind. Now we want to get started with the main program at 7:20, so I'm just going to probably have time for one or two questions from people or comments. Who would like to raise a question? Anybody? Anything you've seen in the news that you'd like to get people's comments on? Is it true or false? Is it? Okay, sure, Steve. Yeah.
Some of you may have heard me speak here before. One of the events that I put on is a self-care working group, which is people getting together to talk about their health issues, where they investigate it experientially and report back over a period of time to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And this coming Sunday afternoon is one of the meetings, and a week from tonight is another meeting, and you can find it on meetup.com. The group is called Project Wellbeing. So if you're interested, check it out.
I have to give my own endorsement to Steve's work. I'm going to be at that meeting a week from tonight, and I try to be at as many meetings as I can, even though I've been studying with Steve for 18 years. He's kind of my principal mentor as a biochemist. Nevertheless, every time I go, I still learn more stuff, so I really recommend it to y'all. Yeah.
Cousins, you don't have the address, I didn't need the time.
The time. Let me see if it's on the sheet here.
Afternoon. Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. I'm afraid it's not on the sheet.
I believe it's in our newsletter on the website.
Okay, good. Good, okay. Now, is there someone else that would like to bring up an issue? I can tell you a joke, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. I wasn't going to bring it up because it doesn't lead anywhere, but it is kind of provocative. The two cavemen are sitting down to dinner, and the one turns to the other and says, "Explain this to me. We have pure air. We eat all organic food. We only live to 30. So, you know, as I say, unfortunately, that joke doesn't lead anywhere because it's very difficult to tie it into what we do. But yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve. There have been articles about resveratrol in the last week or so, saying that it's not all it was cut out to be earlier. Yeah, and I'm curious if anybody has any takes on that.
Anybody? Yeah.
I don't know if everybody read into the article, but it had to do with people in Italy drinking wine, and that was all I got out of it.
Resveratrol only affects sirtuin-1 gene, and the evidence is now that sirtuin-2 and 3 are more important, and even in some cancers, sirtuin-1 is increased, right, Marcus? Okay, so that's why resveratrol doesn't work.
But I think it does work, and there's very good research which was published in, among other places, Scientific American. So, you know, I think the jury's out on that.
There's a man named Bill Sardi, S-A-R-D-I, who developed a resveratrol plus some other things product. I think it's called Longevity Resources. But he's written a lot about this current study, and he has a ton of information if you ever want to know about. Usually a study comes out and then he'll comment on it. So if you find his website or his articles, he has a lot to say. Well, he developed a resveratrol product that he's done a lot of research with, which he says activates, I don't know, 2 or 3 times more genes than resveratrol by itself. And he's also done some studies with macular degeneration that are quite impressive. So anyway, it's worth checking out.
Thank you. Good. Good to see you.
I'd like to caution everybody about believing anything that you read in the media. It could be true and it may not be true, but there's a huge political influence in science. Not only scientists having biases themselves, but there's a lot of commercial influence. So you read a study that says that milk, is a good source of calcium and builds strong bones, and you find out it's funded by the dairy industry. And you read another story about milk causing cardiovascular disease, and it's not funded by the dairy industry. These kinds of things can make a big difference. And there's also a secondary effect, is that certain decisions are political. So, for example, there was a hit piece done on vitamin C by the British government where they funded a study where it it said, you know, vitamin C causes DNA damage. And it was true that there was data that pointed to that. But they chose only 2 markers of DNA damage, one of which is known to increase and the other 3 of which are known to decrease. So they picked the one that was known to increase. And they designed the study to produce maximum results, and completely ignoring the decades and decades of use of vitamin C as an animal sperm preservative for artificial insemination. So you have to, you know, take these kinds of things with a grain of salt, and it's really good to look on the web to see commentary from people who, you know, keep their finger on the pulse of that particular nutrient or that particular research area, and can tell you, you know, how it's biased and whether maybe it isn't biased.
Do we have anything more clear on fish oils versus PBOs? I feel like a ping pong ball.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'd love to discuss that issue, but we can't because we're now. Oh wait, we could. Well, we better stop. Sorry. Ordinarily we'd have time to do that. We don't tonight.
Next month.
Next month. Next month. Now, I think the next order of business.
Microphone.
I guess I'm thinking out loud. So I don't need a microphone. Is to introduce our first speaker.
the mic, please.
Oh, sorry, Larry. Sorry. Tonight we're going, as I say, we're going to have 2 speakers. So, and we're going to have a shortened. I have to warn you in advance, a shortened break, in order to get the 2 speakers in. The second speaker, Marcus Freudenmann, is passing through on the way to do one of his seminars in, I think, Sacramento or someplace. Where is it, Marcus? Is he here? In Livermore, yeah, Livermore. And so we had to grab him while he was there, because he'll be gone again for who knows how long. And Tom came all the way out from Mississippi, and we're very sorry to him that we have to squeeze him a little bit because he had prepared a talk that was a little longer. But I'm sure both talks are going to be really great, worthwhile. But let me start out by introducing Tom. And since Tom can't talk about all the things he's done in the last 10 or 20 years, I want to just mention a few of them. Tonight he's going to talk about his new book, Death by Calcium. But let me start out by giving you the basic stuff. Tom has a BA from Johns Hopkins and an MD from Tulane School of Medicine. He is board certified in both internal medicine and cardiology. After medical school, he has successful practice for 15 years, specializing in cardiology. And then, much to his surprise and consternation, at the age of 42, his perfect health collapsed, and he started having pounding headaches. His blood pressure shot up to 150/110. And even though he's a doctor himself, he didn't know what to do. Other doctors didn't know what to do. Fortunately, he found his way to the advice of Hal Huggins. Hal Huggins is a biological dentist. And Tom's health problems were resolved by removal of an infected tooth left over from a root canal. And that turned out to be an experience which changed his life and also set him on to one of the great medical problems in our society, which very few people know about. So Tom began his journey into biological medicine, not just biological dentistry, but biochemistry and biological medicine. He found himself in a new career as a medical researcher and author. Like many other doctors who do biological medicine, he learned from personal experience that there was a great deal more to medicine than what he had learned in medical school. That's why we're here, actually. We all know that. So let me give you an idea of some of the books he's done in the last 15 years. In 1999, he and Hal Huggins, the dentist, published Uninformed Consent. This is a book on the hazards of mainstream dentistry, the hazards including mercury amalgams, cavitations, and root canals. In 2002, he published his first book on vitamin C, The full title is Curing the Incurable. And listen carefully. Now, this is the subtitle. Vitamin C, Infectious Disease, and Toxins. And he gave his talk on that shortly after he published that book. He was right here in this room talking about it. In 2011, he published Primal Panacea, which was a very powerful and ambitious development of his work with high-dose vitamin C. This book, and the other book, led to a remarkable event in New Zealand, which I want to refer you to. A farmer came back from a vacation with swine flu, a New Zealand farmer, a wealthy farmer. And in short order, he came down with swine flu, as I say, and he was on life support. And they were spending $50,000 a day, but he wasn't getting any better. And someone in the family, they were going to disconnect him. Someone in the family said, well, what about this vitamin C treatment? And of course, the hospital said, poo-pooed it. Hospitals are very strict about what protocols they allow. And so the family, having some assets, hired an attorney, and they agreed to try the vitamin C treatment. And he immediately responded. It's a long story. I can't go into detail because we don't have time. But what I'd like to refer you to, and he survived, and he's now healthy and enjoying his grandchildren. So they were going to disconnect him. He did the vitamin C therapy. It's a long struggle with the family, with the hospital. And the family prevailed and saved his life. And if you go on YouTube, or just Google, in fact, you'll go on YouTube automatically. If you just Google, who pulled the screen down? No. No. We can put it back up again. We can leave it. We can put it back down again, Steve. Now. Well, I'll read it to you then. Excuse me. Yeah, thanks. Google either vitamin C and living proof, or Google vitamin C and New Zealand, and you'll get a 60-minute video done by 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes is a franchised operation, and they do it wonderfully well. It was on New Zealand television, and everybody in New Zealand now knows about this. It's a major event. And I think, and Steve agrees, even though we don't agree about everything, that this might be a turning point. So, I wanted to tell you about that. Now, the last book is that he just came out with in 2013 is Death by Calcium. And the research for that book is the basis of his talk tonight. If you haven't heard of, if you have heard of Tom's claims about vitamin C, which is one of them being that you can treat any viral disease. This is one of the many important claims about vitamin C. You can treat any viral disease with vitamin C and either cure it or put it into remission. And of course, the swine flu is a good example of that. But when I first heard about that, I wanted to tell you, because some of you who don't know his work may be wondering if this kind of thing is plausible. And I wanted to tell you my own experience. In 2002, when he first came here after his book, Curing the Incurable, I was told by the program director that this fellow, Dr. Tom Levy, was on his way, and he was going to talk about curing viral disease. And of course, the conventional wisdom is you can't cure viral disease, you can only cure bacterial disease. Antibiotics only work against bacterial disease, not viral. And even today, what they have for viral disease is very weak and not effective if you have the condition for very long. So then the program director added, with a good deal of excitement, a good friend, Mike Corrick, he said, and Phil, he's going to talk about a guy who cured 38 out of 38 cases of polio using high-dose vitamin C administered by IV. So I said, this is going to hurt our credibility. And then, of course, I met Tom. I found he's a Southern gentleman, very credible. And I listened to his talk. He's a tremendous researcher, overwhelming research, all laid out in very good detail and well organized. And so I realized I made a mistake. So when I heard that he had now written a book, Death by Calcium, of course, I did a mistake. I did a double take, because presumably we all knew that calcium was good for you, builds strong bones and all that. And then, but I didn't. I held my tongue this time. I just read the book, and now I'm convinced that he's right again. So he's a pioneer who's made tremendous use of the available information to tell us things that we would never hear otherwise. So it's a unique thing that twice, I think, already in his career, he has made this kind of contribution. So, Tom, I'd like to introduce you, and it's an honor to be the one who does it.